Hey, what is going on, everyone? Here, Mike Chase, back with another video. Hit subscribe. We finally got our first look at College Football 25 actual gameplay here. The game looks great. In my opinion, it actually looks next gen, but that's what we're talking about here today. We're talking about the gameplay, a lot of the things that they have basically added to this game, and it's some pretty cool stuff here. It'll be playing on the screen. I am actually going to read off some of these campus huddle notes here, and yeah, so let's get right into it. So one of the first things to talk about here in this campus huddle, I'll have a link in the description. Pre-game, Campus IQ. Campus IQ encompasses the overarching concept that has built gameplay to be what it is today. With that said, college gameplay was built on these three fundamental pillars: all 22 plus, 134 ways to play, and stories of Saturday. So let's get into this here. All 22 plus highlights the importance of individual players and their unique abilities. It emphasizes the differentiation and talent between the best and the worst players in college football. So one of the things they really focused on with this game this year was really making sure that there is a difference between elite players, guys at Georgia, and maybe guys who play at Georgia State or Georgia Tech, right? There's a gulf in talent in college football, right? More so than there is in the NFL. It's not as, it's what the reason why they say it's any given Sunday for the pros and not really any given Saturday as much. There's a big difference there, and it seems like this game really wanted to make sure they had that in the game. Next up here, 134 ways to play. From day one, our message was every team is somebody's favorite team. Properly representing offensive schemes from Air Force triple option to the air raid at USC was of utmost importance to them. The final pillar, Stories of Saturday, seeks to encapsulate the raw emotions of these student athletes as they perform under intense pressure in hostile environments. A true freshman is going to respond differently compared to a senior, so getting this right was really important. Bringing all of these together would ultimately have us landing arguably the most important aspect of college football, which is wide open gameplay. So again, all that sounds really good here, and then they go in here to stick work. From the start, one of their primary objectives was to capture the authenticity and wide open gameplay. I had to check some right here. Wide open gameplay of college football. We studied and tried to recreate the explosiveness of current and former college football legends. The result is a game that allows you not only play north and south, but also east and west, thus unlocking a whole new level of excitement to the game. However, we did not stop there. We introduced all new specific run styles from the different archetypes in College Football 25. This will provide a more in-depth and personalized gaming experience, allowing players to mimic the styles of their favorite athletes, create their own unique approach to the game. So I actually like hearing that. I hope more what that means is that, one of my issues with Madden is that smaller running backs play really similar to big running backs, and big running backs play really similar to small running backs, and in between vice versa. So I kind of hope that's something that we see here in College Football 25, where, a small, quick running back isn't going around running over people, trucking them, stiff arming them. I want to see where a player of that size maybe tries that. It doesn't really work out for them as much. But if you have a player that is big, strong, can kind of maybe run through guys a little bit more, but maybe gets caught in the open field a little bit more. So I kind of hope we see that. I hope that's kind of what that means. And then one of the cool elements here is wear and tear. And wear and tear is a feature that takes the football gridiron to an unprecedented level of realism. This feature ensures every hit matters and not all hits are created equal. Wear and tear is a brand new and unique damage system that adds a whole new layer of depth and strategy to your gameplay and roster management. This is reflective of what we see on Saturdays. Wear and tear is designed to simulate real-world effects of fatigue and damage on a player's performance. It operates on a play-to-play and game-to-game basis. If your quarterback has thrown the ball 40 times in a game and has taken some shots, don't expect him to be at 100% the following week in Dynasty or Road to Glory. Subtle gameplay components such as getting the ball out early, covering the ball, and just getting out of bounds will be as important as ever. Wear and tear is on all 22 players on the field. So how does it work? Here they're talking about it. Every limb and body part is linked with unique attributes. For instance, if your quarterback's throwing arm receives a significant hit, you'll notice a decrease in your throw power and accuracy. We've kind of never seen anything like this before. This is really in-depth. This is stuff that I think a lot of us have talked about and have wanted to see in Madden. We haven't ever seen it in Madden. This is kind of the great thing about college football coming back, is that you kind of get these unique features here that maybe you can take a shot at in the college game, and then we can see this in Madden eventually. I don't know about this year, but definitely next year if the features liked enough, I think. So similarly, damage to the legs will impact a player's change of direction and acceleration, making every movement feel slower. Each body part degrades at a different rate, and the player's toughness rating plays a critical role in how much damage is applied on a given hit. The more damaged a body part is, the higher the chance and severity of injury. So that's really cool here. Recovery is also a critical part of this feature. Players will regain health when they're not on the field, during timeouts, at halftime, and between weeks. However, be cautious of your player's workload. The worse a body part is damaged, the slower it recovers. A player can only recover a limited amount of damage during a single game. This encourages strategic planning of management of players to ensure optimal performance. When it comes to management outside of the quarterback and offensive line, teams will substitute around the fatigue of a player or banged up body part. If a player gets really banged up on a given play, expect him to sit a play or two or maybe more. Later in the game, the expectation is that players will have to tough it out. So this is really cool. They actually have a cool graph here, or not a graph, image here, kind of showing wear and tear of these players. You have increased risk of injury. Risk of injury is high here on Quinn Ewers. So just some really cool stuff here, honestly, that they've added to this game. And yeah, I mean, you see one of these guys here, his leg is beat up, his arm is beat up, his chest is beat up. I mean, you got another one here where his chest is severe. You notice there's nothing to the head. So I don't think we're going to see concussions or anything like that. So yeah, I don't think that's going to be a thing that we're going to be seeing. But yeah, so that's a little disappointing. You're not going to see, I don't know if it's disappointing you're not going to see, I don't know if you want to see concussions in a football. You kind of do, but you kind of don't at the same time. You don't want to think about virtual CTE. So yeah. Changing the game. With these changes, wear and tear will add new depths to players' gameplay more than ever before. Up until now, aside from the risk of throwing an interception or fumbling, what have been the impacts of throwing the ball 40 to 50 times a game? Now, gameplay decisions come with physical consequences for your virtual players, adding another layer of authenticity and balance to the game. It's not about the immediate win anymore. Now you have to consider the long-term health and performance of your team. With the introduction of wear and tear, fatigue has been completely overhauled. Whereas wear and tear accounts for physical impacts, fatigue is primarily a conditioning feature designed to provide more realistic snap counts at the college level. It's something to pay attention to on a drive-to-drive basis. Let's say your running back gets 3 consecutive carries for positive yards. You may notice them huffing and puffing in the pre-play. On a subsequent carry, they'll likely come out of the game. However, recovery has been changed up where it'll likely be for only a single play, so they can catch their breath and get right back onto the field. So just really cool stuff here. They also, added, there's a bunch of stuff in here about the option game, how much they've expanded upon that. So I'm not going to read all of this stuff. We're going to get right here into abilities. Sorry, we're going to skip that. We're going to abilities. I think something that's a little bit more interesting. And this is actually really cool, the abilities, because this is more, how do I say this? This is more like NBA 2K, where there is no X factors in this game. I know that's something that I don't think only I was worried about. I think a lot of us are worried about. We didn't want to see X factors. We didn't want to see, superstar X factors. That stuff kind of breaks Madden. You really don't want to see it. I kind of would prefer that to be out of Madden. But I did not want to see it in the college game, and it's not here. But we do have abilities, and I kind of like how they've done this. We've talked about this before, I think, in some of my wishlist videos for Madden and things like that, where instead of maybe X factors, you have these abilities, and there are levels to them. You have bronze, silver, gold, and platinum, which is basically Hall of Fame, like in 2K. So, in College Football 25, we are introducing 80 abilities, the majority of which are completely new to the football gaming space. These abilities are purely situational boosts, and there are no guarantees. Abilities are categorized into 2 groups, physical and mental. Each of these groups further divide into 4 tiers: bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. The most a player can have at any given time is 5 physical abilities and 3 mental abilities. I like that. You know, you're not going to have these players with like a bajillion abilities like you do in 2K. 2K should look into limiting the amount of abilities players can have, but yeah, our aim is to provide players with increasing depth as they progress through these tiers. For instance, consider our new Grip Breaker ability under the physical category. This ability bolsters a defender's capability to disengage from a block. At the bronze and silver tiers, this ability is only applicable during run plays. However, at the gold and platinum levels, it also applies to pass plays, with its effects significantly amplified. Another important note to make here is that the abilities a players can have is solely determined by their archetype. Mental abilities, on the other hand, are dictated by the position of the player. So, really cool stuff here. I hope I should have these images on the screen for you guys in this. Maybe not all of you can go and read it right now, but some really cool stuff here that they are adding to this year's game. Yeah, so while creating abilities, we kept gameplay balance at the forefront of our development. A perfect example of this is the new Pocket Shield ability. This progressively makes offensive linemen hold blocks better on standard pass plays. However, at the platinum tier of this ability, it doesn't apply if the distance of the first down is more than 10 yards. So you have to stay on schedule to reap the benefits. Lastly, it's still possible for a lineman to lose even at platinum tier. Though this will be expanded upon later in the upcoming Dynasty deep dive, we have introduced coach abilities with gameplay effects. These abilities have significant impacts on major features such as confidence, composure, home field advantage, and play styles, just to name a few. So really cool stuff here on that. The abilities, I'm glad to hear coach abilities. I think that's already been in the game, but also something that I've wanted to see in Madden as well. So still a little bit more here I have to read. Let me just take a quick break to drink some water real quick. All right, I've drunken my water. You should too. We're back here, still talking about abilities. And one of these is pre-snap recognition. Can you see everything at the line of scrimmage like an experienced senior? What about the freshman playing on the road in front of hundreds of thousands screaming fans? We have introduced a new pre-snap recognition feature designed to bring the level of clarity to the line of scrimmage that reflects the experience level of the player controlling the game. For instance, a freshman player may not be able to identify who is coming to blitz or what the shell is at the line of scrimmage compared to what a seasoned senior would recognize. Our new system also takes into account player and coach abilities, home field advantage, and our new coverage shells. What ability do you need? The field general ability is what brings all of this together. Here's how it works. Bronze. Blitzers are highlighted, but only after the snap. This gives players a basic level of awareness, but requires them to react quickly. Silver tier. Players can spot blitzers before the snap, but only if they are close to the line of scrimmage, and only for a brief moment. Sorry, there's a train going on in the background. This gives players a slight edge and allows them to plan their moves with a bit more foresight. Gold tier unveils a coverage show momentarily, gives players a glimpse into the defensive strategy. Platinum tier allows players to see even disguised shells, albeit briefly. This is designed to ensure that a defensive player can make strategic adjustments in response. The pre-snap recognition feature adds new dimension to gameplay, rewarding players who quickly analyze and adapt to the evolving game situation on the field. So some really cool stuff here. I'll be interested to see how that works in the game personally. I'm sure online players are hearing this and probably hate it. I don't really care about them too much personally, but yeah, I mean, I'm somewhat interested to see how this is balanced out in the game, because there are ones where in Madden where you can kind of see what the other team's doing, and it feels almost kind of like cheating in a way, where how much you can just really take advantage of it. So I hope that's not something that that we see here in the game. Personally, where it's just like you kind of abuse these to the point where it's like, boy, I kind of want to turn this off because it almost feels like cheating. But it sounds like they really wanted to balance this stuff out, and so hopefully this isn't something we have to worry about too much here. And I'm somewhat excited for it. Again, I really like it because this really just feels like they've really made a completely different game than Madden. I really think this is going to, how do I say this? It's going to really, I think, the people, if you've been on Twitter, you've heard people talk about how this is just a Madden reskin. It's nothing more than a Madden reskin. But you see just all the work here. I'm not even halfway through. I'm not going to read this entire thing here. I will put a link in here in the description, because if I read this entire thing, I'm going to be here for like over half an hour. My voice does not have that, but I'm not even halfway done through this. They're talking about, you have the switch stick here. This is something that's actually really cool. You can quickly, with the flick of the right stick, you can quickly switch to the player in coverage or something like that. If you see a receiver about to catch the ball, before you would have to hit a button and it would always switch you to the wrong player. Now that's done with a stick, and it'll switch you, it seems like, to the right player that you need to switch to. So I am a big fan of that personally. I feel that's always been an issue in coverage for me. So hopefully we'll be able to kind of switch on and kind of make those plays a little bit faster. Playbooks and team styles. This year, over 1,500 new plays and more than 50 formations, along with 134 team books have been created. So that's a bunch of that's a bunch of playbooks, a whole bunch of new plays, all sorts of new RPOs and pitch and option plays. So lots of cool stuff like that. They talk about the tempo you can play under. They have real-time coaching here. So that is, making its debut in this year's edition. The real-time coaching feature is an adaptive coaching engine designed to authentically enhance both offensive and defensive CPU gameplay. In this RTC engine, coaching aggression possesses unique adaptive adjustment levels. This means that different coaches will react and adapt differently to successful run or pass games, thus creating a more authentic, dynamic, and unpredictable game environment. Additionally, the AI now has access to a full range of adjustments, just like the human player would make. As a result, you can expect to see teams employ an array of adjustments such as shade techniques, showing blitz, run commit, quarterback contains, and spies, just to name a few situational adjustments. The AI will also recognize and adapt to your offensive personnel. For instance, if you're dominating a team with inside zone out of 11 personnel, you'll notice the CPU tweaking their defensive line, providing a different look to potentially alter your play call. If you're having significant success on the ground, you may find some teams loading the box earlier than others. Furthermore, the AI is designed to be aware of your player's ratings and abilities. If you have an elite wideout, some teams might double him from the jump or match him with their top corner. This is an example of the best-on-best matchup strategy enabled by RTC. Defensive AI is also capable of disguising coverage, adding another layer of challenge to the gameplay. Situationally, adjustments are another key feature of this new engine. Despite being in the first year, this engine significantly enhances pre-snap adjustment chess methods. For example, in scenarios when you're inside the 10 with man coverage, expect to see more press and inside shade techniques, forcing the ball out and over the top. Another example of situational adjustments when the opposition is leading by 3 scores late in the game. In this case, you'll notice them keeping the ball inside and tackling conservatively to keep the clock ticking. In conclusion, this is just the first year of the implementation of this foundational feature. The groundwork for the ultimate strategic experience has been laid, and we can't wait to see where it goes from here. So, again, just talking about just all of the new stuff that they've just added to this game in terms of the gameplay, that all this stuff is really going to set it apart from Madden. I'm talking about weather here. Throwing or handling a wet football is challenging and fundamentally a fundamental component of the game. We have introduced several changes to gameplay to make the experience more immersive and realistically difficult. The weather now plays a significant role in influencing the outcome of the game, and the effects are far from subtle. Let's first touch on player movement. For harsh conditions affect movement of your players. It is challenging to plant and cut in these conditions, and this will be the first thing you feel. The passing game faces considerably impact when you're playing under harsh weather conditions as well. Players will notice wobbly passes, impacted pass accuracy, and throw power are some of the other gameplay elements affected by the weather. The chances of increased drops and fumbles also rise under adverse weather conditions. The ball becomes slippery and harder to hold on to, increasing the risk of turnovers. This aspect means that players will have to be extra cautious while handling the ball while using the running back R1 cover the ball mechanic. This is not a one-way street, however. Well, that will also make base, wrap, and dive tackles a bit more challenging as well. Lastly, weather affects special teams. You'll feel hits to your kick power and accuracy. Kicking the ball in heavy rain or snow can drastically alter its trajectory and distance, making field goals and punts a challenging task. So there's also a new kicking meter in this game as well. Looks interesting. We always hear them talk about difficulty with kicking. It looks like it's kind of like a 2-for-1 type of feature type of thing. Like you have to get the power, and then you have to get like the accuracy. There's 2 ways you can completely blow a kick in this game, it appears. So that franchise guy is going to be blowing all sorts of field goals in his Dynasty, I'm assuming. And so that is going to be really interesting. Another thing in here is, looks like there's victory formation. And it looks like they actually added an actual victory formation where as long as the football games after this game clinching moment, you've had to sit under the center for 30 plus seconds just to take 3 consecutive kneel downs. Well, I'm happy to say those days are over. This year, as soon as the game is mathematically over, just take a knee, players will come onto the field, and we will simulate the following kneel downs. Not only does this feel like Saturday, but it can also get you back into your next game, wherever that may be. So, absolutely insane the amount of stuff added into this game. I only talked for 21 minutes here about all this stuff that's in here in this deep dive. There's still more that I didn't even touch on. So honestly, guys, go read the deep dive. But this game sounds like it is going to be everything we wanted and then some in terms of the gameplay. Sounds like a real effort was made here by this team to really make this maybe one of the best football games we've ever gotten. So go read this, go watch the deep dive with all the audio, go read the deep dive. A Madden reskin, this is not. I feel very confident in saying that. I know there's going to be the Ryan Moody's of the world and just the people who are just negative about this game because they want it to fail for some reason. I guess they just hate seeing people be so joyous about something that comes from EA. It is what it is, but either way, I'm excited for this game. What do you guys think is the coolest feature that they've added here? Let me know down below in the comments section. Hit subscribe. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.